There have been a couple of really wonderful aspects to leaving W-2 employment and striking out on my own. And one of them is I get to dress the way I want to dress every day. I love t-shirts. I especially love t-shirts that say something like the one I'm wearing today that was made by We Society, which seems particularly appropriate today and in recent weeks. But I love t-shirts and placards and things that remind me. This one here says, of all the paths you take in life, make sure some of them are dirt. And I bought that some years ago, and I never realized its truth more than when I went and walked my 500-mile Camino last fall and the change that that brought about in my life. But I love t-shirts. I love plaques. I love little reminders for myself to look for the good in life and humanity, and to challenge myself to push harder, to dig deeper, to do better. So I got t-shirts, and I like little pithy sayings written on them. And so I'm going to share a few of them with you today. And here's one of my favorites. I believe this is like a US Navy SEAL term or phrase that they use all the time. Embrace the suck. And the idea behind embrace the suck is that if it's in your path, it's for you. It's kind of the stoic philosophy of you don't have to make a home there, you don't have to camp there, but if something's in your way, it's there to teach you something. Embrace it, learn from it, press forward through it, but embrace the suck. If it sucks, it's okay, because life is going to suck sometimes. And we can either crawl into a hole and resent life for sucking, or we can embrace the suck and we can learn from it. This one is along those same lines. This one might offend some, but DFQ, don't quit. And I can't remember what the F stands for, but it's don't something quit. So play with F words and see what works in that particular shirt. That's a reminder to me also during my cancer battle. Don't quit. Don't quit. Oh, we're going to continue along that same thought with this t-shirt produced by Tom Bilyeu's organization called Impact Theory. Grit is a word that gets used all the time now. Grit is uh, consistent with the other t-shirts that I've just shown you and the other messages that I've just shown you. Uh, grit's not just resolve. Grit's that get dirty, get bloody, be willing to go through it to experience the other side. That's what grit is. Next, produced by a company called Humans Unlimited. Also one of my favorite shirts, Transcend the Bullshit. There's a lot of bullshit in life. We've got to transcend it. We've got to go beyond it. We've got to be better than the bullshit. We've got to speak a truth that transcends the bullshit. And then, you know, all those are kind of in your face, sort of challenging messages. But I got this a while back and I love it. Pretty straightforward and simple. Do good. And when I wear that shirt out in public, it's hard for me to be an ass behind the wheel of my car. It's hard to be one of those freeway, fast driving, pseudo road rager guys when I'm wearing a do good t-shirt. It's a reminder to me that, hey, I'm wearing this. You really should try to do so. And then this is another shirt produced by a company called Humans Unlimited, like the last one, that says simply Human Unlimited. I really do believe that our potential as humans is limitless. I think the amazing things that have been accomplished in the course of history have mostly been accomplished because other people believe that too. And they acted as if. They acted as if they could. They acted as if why not was the right response to a difficult challenge or a goal that seemed unreachable at the time, or a societal change that needed to change but was rooted deep in history and tradition and philosophy and matters that were hard to uproot. And I also have this lovely coffee cup. Can you read that? Of course, it's the famous Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world. All of these are reminders to me. They don't have to be your reminders. They're reminders to me. But today, in light of the murder, I want to call it execution of George Floyd, for whatever crime he committed or supposedly committed, the punishment exceeded the crime. Now, I know an awful lot of people in law enforcement, and all of them, every single one, are wonderful humans and great people. So this is not an indictment of law enforcement. I refuse to play that game. But it is an indictment that something is broken in some sectors of our society and in some sectors of law enforcement. The overreaction, the callous disregard for human life has to stop. We can't continue to live like this. What's happening in Minneapolis now is a reaction to what happened to George Floyd. Is it appropriate? Of course not. Wanton destruction is not appropriate. But when your voice goes unheard for so long, and these violations against a people group continue, it's hard to believe that you are a part of this great society, this wonderful experiment in democracy. It's hard to believe that you really have a seat at the table when you see those who look like you constantly marginalized. I know some people will disagree with this. I don't know yet what my full reaction is going to be. I know that this little video is simply me saying, enough. I can't be silent. I will not be silent. I think the real message of we, at least for me, the real message of all these pithy little quotes is that we are far more connected than we are separated. We have far more in common than we are different. The color of my skin has far less significance than the fact that my DNA says I'm human, my genetics say that I'm human, my biology says that I'm human. And the Black or Hispanic or Asian brother or sister standing next to me has the same basic foundational biology. They're human. They might speak a different language, they might be a different gender, they might worship to a different God. Those things are all superficial differences compared to the fact that we are common in our humanity. We must find that common ground. I've been guilty of racism. It would be a lie for me to say otherwise. I'm very aware now. My awakening, I don't know when it began, but one of the seminal moments in my awakening was after college. I was in Seattle and I was hanging out with a dear friend of mine from high school. It wasn't a romantic interest. She was just a really dear friend and had been all the way through my high school years. Her name was Leslie. And we decided to go to a movie in Seattle. And she said, I got an idea. There's this really great movie showing called Cry Freedom. It's about this guy named Stephen Biko in apartheid South Africa. This is in the early 1980s, so it wasn't very distant from the reality of apartheid South Africa. We went to the movie, and I walked out of that movie stunned, transformed, ashamed, and shocked that I could be so unaware of the reality of the world around me, that I could live in this world and not understand that not very far away in a different country, humanity was valued in such a way that people could be treated the way people were treated in apartheid South Africa. And of course, I knew injustice existed. I knew it existed in our own country. I knew the history of our country as it pertained to race. But in 1980s, that could still be a reality was shocking to me. And it was part of my awakening. And of course, like most of us that are still breathing, the awakening should continue the longer we take in breath. We should grow, expand, evolve, whatever term you want to put to it. We should fill our hearts with good stuff so that our minds and our hearts expand with that good stuff. This little pewter paperweight up here says, change your thoughts and you change your world. I don't always execute that. I've made a lot of egregious mistakes in my life. I've treated people unfairly. I've treated people wrongly. I've hurt people I love. I've hurt people I care about. I've made unfortunate decisions, and I don't stand here pretending to be some righteous, noble person that's got all of his shit together, because I clearly don't. But this one's easy. This one's easy. It should be easy for you. Sadly, it's not. It's not easy for everyone, and I don't quite understand why. This requires a recognition that we all are humans, and through our shared humanity, a compassion for the murder of an individual who did nothing to warrant his death. And the callous disregard with which not only the officer that knelt on his neck while he was struggling to breathe and crying out, but the other officers that stood around and watched it. And sadly, the video we have that testifies to this reality is tragic. If you take my comments as an indictment of law enforcement, you're not listening to what I say. But this act by law enforcement should be indicted. It's indictable. It's disgusting, it's despicable, and it dishonors the reputation and the image of what law enforcement is and should be. But more than that, it identifies something in our society that runs deeper than whether or not we've got a few bad cops like we have a few bad citizens. Your reaction to the death of George Floyd can't be callous disregard. It can't be. There's too much evidence to the contrary that this is abnormality. It was only a couple of weeks ago we were talking about a young man shot to death in the streets of Georgia, ostensibly jogging through a neighborhood. Perhaps he committed some crime. We don't know. I don't know. But the crime he may or may not have committed was not a capital offense. The death sentence did not accompany strolling through a home under construction. Again, I don't know what he did or didn't do. It doesn't matter to me. His death is a tragedy. His death is an abomination. His death is a statement of we are not equal and we have to find equality. So I am speaking up. I don't know where this will take me, but I'm not going to sit silent. This was murder, has to change. And if it's going to change, it has to change through me. I'm part of, representative of the problem. Empathy says that I don't try to see through my eyes and understand you. I try to see through your eyes and understand you. Sympathy is quaint. It's nice. We can be sympathetic to someone at a funeral or in the hospital or whatever. That's great. There's nothing wrong with sympathy. But sympathy won't fix this problem. Thoughts and prayers won't fix this problem. Directly, honestly addressing this issue will begin to fix this problem. The problem will take years to fix. It will take a continued and concerted effort to be the change we want to see in the world. Well, this is a change I want to see. I hope you do too.